Here we are.
Hello.
All
Good
right.
morning, good afternoon,
Let's see if
good
it's going through.
evening, and good day to all of you out there watching, joining us live, catching up on the replay because it will stay up, as you know. How are you doing today? this
Good.
morning.
This is our first weekend edition.
That's right. Yeah. If you prefer this time, do let us know in the comments below or right now if you're watching, you can.
We'd love to figure out, I mean, obviously with the global audience, it's tough, but we'd love to figure out the time that sort of accommodates the largest audience. We like morning, so it's almost always going to be morning wherever we are. But the day of the week is actually pretty flexible for us.
Right? It is. And if you have a preference, do let us know and we can try to accommodate you. Again, we're doing this for you, Explearners. So do let us know.
And for us,
we enjoy it. We enjoy it too. We do love it. So this topic is, I think, really important. And it was something that you were watching a lot of, actually. We looked at our analytics and you were really interested in this topic. So we wanted to dive in a little bit and tease apart some of the elements of what makes up the silent treatment and stonewalling, which are synonymous, right?
Right. So the topic is the silent treatment?
Exactly.
Got it. Got it.
Giving someone the silent treatment, which is not fun for the person receiving the silent treatment.
No, it's not. It feels, I will say, delivering the silent treatment feels like you're really getting them, but it
like
never
you're
like you're somehow vindicating yourself. Not vindicating is the wrong word. It feels like you're giving them their just reward, but it also isn't good ultimately for the person giving it either.
Right. It's not good communication practice to be stonewalling someone. So let's just take a step back and define these terms.
Sure.
So the silent treatment is basically what it says, right? You're basically in the event of being angry or upset or experiencing some other high emotion, negative emotion. Of course, when you're happy, you might not necessarily do this, but it's really in the negative context of being upset or angry with someone or not, but just being around somebody who might inquire as to why you're feeling that way and you don't say anything. You're silent.
I mean, I feel like we've all done it. I certainly have.
Yeah, of course.
And I've been on the receiving end as well. Yeah, I think of it as a situation where I'm so angry at the person or so frustrated, whatever the case.
Or disappointed.
That they don't even deserve to hear me speak.
Right. It doesn't deign a response.
Yeah.
Right?
That I'm just, the best punishment I can give is to withhold everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, like, even when we're not communicating anything, we still are.
Totally.
Being silent is still communicating something. And that's testament. The silent treatment is testament to that.
Particularly this deliberate. I mean, there are people who are quiet, right? And there are people who just don't talk much. In this case, this is a very deliberate action where you know the person is expecting you to say something. In fact, they're probably trying to elicit a response from you, and you're deliberately
shutting them off, right? You're stonewalling them. You're putting a stone wall up between you and the person.
Exactly.
So we can talk about maybe how the other person might feel, right? The person on the receiving end on the other side of the wall.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not good, right? It's not,
it's super frustrating.
Very frustrating.
Because you want, when you're the one speaking and wanting the response, and you know that they're deliberately withholding, it's one of these things where you have no control over it, right? There's no way you're going to get them to talk. And in fact, the harder you try to get them to talk,
the more resistant they'll become.
Exactly. The deeper entrenched they become in their sort of position of silence, their, internal solidarity.
Yeah. And I'm laughing, but honestly, it's not fun to experience it at all.
Yeah. And you see it at all ages too, right?
Of course. Yeah.
I think kids,
little ones
kids learn to do it
adults
at probably somewhere in, I don't know, first, second grade, so they start to pick it up.
Yeah.
And then it basically continues for a long time. For most people, it continues their entire lives.
Right. And again, it's not something that we really want to lean on when we are frustrated. And it's not a great way of expressing anger or frustration or whatever other emotion it is that you're grappling with at the time, because it doesn't get to problem solving. It doesn't get to the bottom of what the issue may be. And I think more importantly, the person that you're doing this to will definitely take offense. Yeah. And it's not
get angrier and angrier.
Right. And that will just escalate things, and it will just throw things out of proportion. Trust me, I'm telling you this from experience. And oftentimes it might not even have to do with the person that you're stonewalling, right? It could just be, let's say I'm at work and I had a rough day and I come home and I'm stonewalling Greg, let's say, right? But it has nothing to do with Greg. Yet somehow Greg might take offense to that because I'm not, telling him what's going on or whatever that might be. But sometimes it does have to do with the person. Other times it doesn't. But again, it doesn't problem solve anything.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because in your example, you come home from work and you had a bad day at work. You're so fed up with the world at the moment that you don't want to talk to anyone. And so your partner comes to you and says, "Oh, how was your day?" And
you're silent.
You're silent. You don't want to say anything about it.
Yeah.
Your partner is of course going to immediately assume, or your friend, whoever it is,
or parents,
siblings.
Totally,
yeah, they're going to immediately assume that they did something wrong. So the one thing the silent treatment does achieve is it says, I'm in a bad mood, right? I'm pissed off. I'm somehow not myself.
Right.
And the problem is, in most cases, the person who's receiving it is going to assume that it's something they did.
Right. But it doesn't direct the source of the frustration.
Right.
It doesn't tell the person who is.
And that's the second part. The issue is, like you're saying, it conveys no information other than that. And so you're left, the person receiving, guessing, and the more silent you are, the more sort of frantic they become to know what it is that's keeping you silent, and why you won't respond. And so their anger levels are going to escalate.
Yeah.
And as they get angrier, they're going to sort of, it's going to be this sort of negative feedback loop where you guys get more and more frustrated,
entrenched in those negative emotions.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the two sides here. So on the one hand, you have the person who is performing the silent treatment. And on the other hand, you have the person receiving it. Mm-hmm. So on the receiving end, we actually have a video lesson about this, and it's linked below in the description box. So definitely check it out. It's all about how do you get someone to sort of open up, right? And stop giving you the silent treatment. So one of the things is really shifting the paradigm, in that what you're doing is you're asking them to open up so that you can help them, right? So it's changing the narrative a little bit, even if it has to do with you, right? You're telling them, look, I care about you enough that I want to help. And if you don't talk to me, how can I help? Right.
Right.
So there's two different.
That's sort of the key. That was the key phrase from the video, right?
Exactly.
It was like,
it's in a nutshell. If you don't open up to me, how can I help you? Right. So it can be phrased as a question or a statement. If you don't share with me what's going on, I can't help you. Right. So you can choose whether to give a declarative or ask a question.
And what I like about that is, it's different than saying, tell me
what's wrong.
Tell me what's wrong, right? Yeah. That by saying tell me what's wrong, you're essentially you're saying you're kind of compelling them to reveal information, right? It feels like a demand.
Yes.
Whereas the way you phrased it, I can't help you if you don't tell me.
Exactly.
It's not a demand. It's a conditional, right? It's saying, I want to help, and until I have more information, I can't do that.
Exactly.
So it's on you. It's giving them the choice, right? The person withholding, it's giving them a choice to divulge, in order to make themselves feel better.
Right. And again, it comes down to trying to help the person. Now, it could very well have to do with you. Maybe you are the root cause of their giving you the silent treatment, in which case
You as the receiver.
Exactly. It'll give you an opportunity to change your behavior or explain something, elaborate on something, a comment, something that was said in jest that they took to heart, whatever it might be, an assumption, a misassumption, an assumption that was not really the case. But on the other side, right, with now let's talk about the person who is actually giving the silent treatment.
Yes.
What do you do in that case? So instead of giving the silent treatment,
I would say the most important thing is recognizing that by remaining silent, nothing is going to get solved, right? Knowing that you may be relishing in this power you have over the person you're delivering it to, in that they want to hear from you and you're not giving it to them. But that's kind of like losing your temper. It feels so good in the moment, and then you immediately regret it and you're embarrassed about it. And the silent treatment is a very similar dynamic, I feel like.
Right. And there are ramifications, right? There are consequences for that behavior. Eventually the person's just not going to want to find out what's happened, what's wrong.
Very true.
You're going to keep giving the silent treatment. And guess what? You're not going to get to the bottom of anything. And they're not going to give you the light of day if all you do is give them the silent treatment when they just want to help. Yeah. So I think the most important thing in that moment, right, if you're the person giving someone the silent treatment, is recognizing this recognition of, okay, I'm not ready to talk to anyone yet about this. I need maybe like a 5-minute, 10-minute cool down period, right? Let's say you did come home from work and you're super frustrated, whatever. You have that space and time to just kind of diffuse the situation that maybe you've built up in your head, maybe not. And I think the second thing is to voice that to the person, right?
Well, yeah, I would call that one thing, which is you recognizing it and making sure that the other person is aware.
Right.
Because one of the things that might be happening in your head is you don't know. Like, I like the word they use, recognize.
Yeah.
Because you don't necessarily know that you are delivering silent treatment, right? In your head, there may be so many voices going off. And there's, total chaos up there. And so in your head, everything's cacophonous. It's loud, and silence is the last thing that you think you're doing. But from the receiver, they can't hear what's going on in the head.
Unless you voice it.
Unless you voice it. So recognizing is important.
Yes.
And so maybe it is 2 steps. Recognizing it.
Recognizing it and then expressing
it. Disclosing it.
Right. And you don't have to disclose it to the very, core details. You can simply say, look, I had a rough day at work. I just need a minute to sort of decompress, but I will, chat this through with you afterwards. Yeah. Or if it's about the person, you might say, look, I need 10 minutes. I need some time to think about this. I need some time to.
I definitely do want to talk about it. I'm just not ready to talk about it yet.
Yeah. That way the person either knows that it is about them and they, you need to open up the dialogue there, or it's not about them and then they can, take a breath.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's these cat and mouse games, right? And we don't like playing games. Those never really turn out the way that you maybe.
Well, people might like to play them, but they don't work out well.
I'm saying we on our channel.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think you're right. People, I guess that's why they call it a game. After all, a game is fun, right?
Yeah.
It's like.
Certainly, what we found is that it just doesn't work. Yeah.
Life is,
Life is too short for that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like you know what you want. If you don't know what you want, you figure out what you want, and then you.
So information is very powerful. Part of why we start the channel is because communication is about, in part, it's about the transmission of information.
Yes.
Right.
Transference of knowledge.
Which is why it's so powerful, because knowledge is power.
It is.
But it really is. And when you have more information than the other person, you're at an advantage.
Yeah. It's a power play.
It's a power play, and you can feel that. And when you play games with people, silent treatment being one of them, that's essentially manipulating your play. It's exploiting your advantageous position to put them down.
Exactly.
And that's not really a dynamic you want with anyone.
Well, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
It turns into something, it's toxicity in the relationship. And stonewalling in the relationship really won't allow the relationship to grow and to flourish. And not every relationship is meant to grow and flourish, but at least you'll know whether to keep it up. And I'm not talking about a romantic relationship per se. It's any type of relationship, a friendship, you know.
I mean, I feel like friends, I've definitely given friends a silent treatment. Friends have given me a silent treatment. I think it's even, it's certainly as common among friends as it is among romantic relationships.
Right. I mean, there's that term, right? Ghosting. Ghosting is essentially a long-term, definitive terminating the relationship, right? Whatever capacity it is in.
Ghosting is like the ultimate silent treatment. But you know, what's different about ghosting is that ghosting, you disappear, right? And there's no response respected, honestly, at a certain point. Whereas the silent treatment, you know they're there, you know they have the information, and they're just not giving it to you.
Right.
You know?
But up until a certain point, right? Because at the end of the day, someone's really going to get fed up, right? The person, again, on the receiving end is just going to be like, all right, well, I tried.
Right.
It's been weeks. It's been months. Yeah. It's been years.
Yeah.
Hopefully not, you guys, right?
So another interesting context for a silent treatment is in a corporate context.
Great. I love that we're going there. Yeah.
Right? Because you do see it in the workplace as well. Mm-hmm. Whether it's among colleagues, right? You may just decide that a colleague has done something to annoy you.
Yeah.
And so in return, you're going to withhold information from them. You're not going to keep them up to date on something. You may basically withhold information that would help them do their job.
Right.
And that can also be very destructive, very, very destructive, both to your relationship with that colleague, but also for the company, right? A successful company, one of the most important parts of a successful company is the quality of the communication between the people working there. Yeah. And so the silent treatment in a corporate context has almost a double whammy effect where it has a deleterious effect on the workers and also on the productivity of the company as a whole, which can again create this sort of negative feedback loop. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something to watch out for there, and in some ways is doubly destructive. And it also, I find that more so in a corporate context, you get this sort of tit for tat type behavior,
right?
Where if you do it to someone, they may well do it to you down the road as well, right? And so there's sort of this reciprocal dynamic.
A quid pro quo.
A quid pro quo, exactly. Where you might get some of your own medicine down the road, and you're not going to like it either. Right. So the point I simply wanted to make was that this isn't constrained to sort of personal and personal relationships. I think this applies professionally as well.
Across different types of social interactions. I think that's a really good point that you raised there. And it sort of reminds me of the idea of passive aggressive behavior, right? Because silent treatment and stonewalling is a form of passive aggressiveness.
It totally is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I would say it's a literal example of it, right? The silence is a passivity, and it's destructive passivity.
Right. Yeah. You're taking action very passively, and it has a noxious effect on everyone involved.
Yeah.
And again, the problem solving is not there, which is what we want to really convey with these kinds of things, so you can get to the bottom of it.
Right. Right. And so, yeah, I think what we've addressed now is sort of the two ways to approach it on either side, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. On the recipient side, and in most cases, I feel like the recipient is the one who's going to have their wits about them more. I think the goal is to.
And why is that? Let's just say why.
Well, because the recipient typically, at least at the outset, is going to be calmer.
Exactly.
Right? They're going to be in a better mental space.
Right. Because again, they're not like ruminating over what happened, or they're not going through. They don't have cloudy judgment at the time.
Right.
That's what we mean by that. Okay.
Yeah. So because of that, they're probably the one that has the best chance of resolving the situation. Yeah. And so what we were saying is, I think shifting the focus from give me the information that you have to, I want to help you. I want to help you. Right. And in order to help you, I need something to go on.
The details. At least tell me, why you feel this way.
Right.
And on a related note, we have another video about how to calm someone down who seems angry, upset, again, any other high negative emotion. And that's to not ask the question, what's wrong? Are you okay? Right? These are dead-end questions that really will escalate matters. It won't make the person feel loved, cared about, that you have their back. Instead, it's really just going to maybe even force them to give you the silent treatment.
Well, it certainly can aggravate them.
It can aggravate it.
Yeah.
We were on a ferry ride this summer, and we were enjoying the scenery. It's one of these lovely open air ferries, and we were going through different islands. And one of the passengers was with her mom and her sister, and she was clearly really upset. And the mom really wanted to help. She didn't know how, and she didn't know, really what was wrong, but she kept persisting to ask her daughter for at least 20 minutes.
Yeah.
What's wrong? What's wrong?
Yeah, she kept saying,
why are you upset?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
And obviously the mom wanted to help.
Yeah, her intentions were pure, right? I mean, unconditional love from parents. But the girl really, the daughter really was not having any of it.
In fact, it was each time the mom asked, the daughter got angrier and angrier.
And you could just see it in her face. Yeah. I had my sunglasses on. I was trying not to, stare, but it really gave me the idea of maybe talking about this on the channel. And so we did. And, she just stormed off, and I think she said a couple of expletives, and she was on her way.
The details don't matter. The point is, she didn't want to engage, and the more she asked, the more the mom asked, the further this girl got pushed away.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's an example of sort of what happens in the silent treatment too. The harder you try and dig for information, the more the less likely you are to give it. And so again, changing the focus to
problem solving
to helping, right? To being on their team.
Exactly.
Will definitely help.
Exactly.
And then on the deliverer side.
And it's also giving them the choice, right? Because they might take time and space, but it diffuses the situation. It's not like, probing them. Come on, tell me what's wrong. Tell me what's wrong. Tell me what's wrong. Instead, it's like, look, I'm here if you need to talk. That's all I'll say, right? I'm here to help. When, in due course, you'll let me know what's going on, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, that's another good part of it. Not saying you need to tell me right now, right?
We all need time sometimes.
When you're ready, I'm here to help. And I think that's actually what you got at in that video.
Yeah.
When you're ready, I'm here to be a resource for you.
Right.
Which I think segues nicely into the person who's delivering the silent treatment, right? As we were saying, the most important thing that person can do is recognize that they're engaging in silent treatment. And if they're not ready to talk about it, that's okay.
Right.
But making that clear to, the person that's across from them, so that it gets, it at least gets across that I have something to tell you, I'm just not ready to talk about it yet.
Right. And it doesn't escalate things, right? The mom really took it. She was calm about it, but in another scenario, the person on the receiving end might also, erupt in anger, and then things will escalate further. Right. And the mom was kind of chill about it.
Yeah.
She was like,
I would have made it a much longer ferry ride.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But then when she came back, she was calm, and the mom didn't ask again. So I think she got the message, but
yeah,
she should have followed Explearning strategy.
I know. And some of this might feel, going back to the corporate context, might feel a little touchy-feely and a little too
like cheesy.
Cheesy, right? And so I think if you're in that context, instead of saying, I want to help you, what you can say is simply, look, we have this objective as a team. These are our goals. We're trying to get there as fast as possible and deliver as high quality outcome as we can.
Yeah.
In order for me to do that, I think it'd be helpful to have a little more information, context for how we can address this, right? Yeah. Essentially framing it not as, I want you to tell me the information, and more so, we have a bigger mission here that's bigger than, our own squabbles. To the extent that we can focus on that mission, and to the extent that you have any information that will help that mission, well, let's probably try and surface that so that we can take this company to higher heights.
Ground. Yeah. I think that's great. It really comes down to the situation and just knowing that you have options and choices as a communicator, and you are always communicating something, even in your silence. So just try to practice these strategies. Practice it when you are the person giving someone the silent treatment or are about to give someone the silent treatment, and also when you are on the receiving end. And go through the different strategies, find what feels, like it's working for you, and add these strategies to your toolkit so that you'll be ready to use them when the time comes.
Yeah, I think that was well said.
Yeah. All right. Let us know if you like having the live streams on the weekend. And
next week, we hope to have this fireplace going, which I'm very excited about.
Yes. Maybe not next week, but we'll find a time when we'll see. Depending on when we're doing.
I'm not in control of the schedule.
The live stream.
The next time we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. In any event, thanks for joining, guys.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yep. And we'll see you next time.
And there's another lesson coming out. So, woo. All right. Happy Explearning, everyone. Have a wonderful week.
See you guys.
Bye.